In this video we're going to look at how to get imported media objects displayed consistently and correctly in the trainer. So media objects is an object type that was brought in I think in 1902. It's a pretty good thing. You could always import, for example, PDFs, PowerPoint, Word documents and stuff like that as effectively files, but they had to be owned by some other object and they didn't have any of the usual properties or anything. So media objects are handy for a number of reasons, one is which that they have all of the properties that regular objects do. So they're great to use for that reason. There's another couple of reasons that I'll explain in a second once we insert one. Okay, so I've got an outline here called customer service. I've got a couple of simulations in it and I really want the PDF of the process document in there as well. So I'm going to go to insert media object. Now the place you put your media objects prior to loading in is important. You want them to be in somewhere where they can be found again in the same location in case you need to update them. So in this case, if I happen to have a process document library sat somewhere, that would be the place that I want to pull this from. Don't insert them on a random LAN drive that could change. In this case, I've got a media upload folder that I just drop everything into. So I'm going to select that, click open, and then it imports the object for me. The name it always uses the file name without the file type on the end of it, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. It's going to save to server as well. Click OK. So that's imported it for me. I've now got a PDF, and like you can see down the right hand side here, it's a media object and it's got all of the usual things that are available for other types of content object in Enable Now. Now, interestingly, it's stored the original file location in here. This is good because if I need to upload a new version of this, because this is a media object, it's a file that's maintained outside of Enable Now, this button here will do that for me. I just click on that and it will go to that file location and pull in a new copy for me. I can also do that at any group level as well. So I could do it for my whole work area, or for example in this case for customer service, I could go through all of the PDFs that are linked in there and bring them all in one by one. That is on the tools menu. It's kind of hidden like a lot of things seem to be in Enable Now. Under work area structure, update externally loaded files. That will go through the whole of that structure, that group and everything below, and update all of those files that have been imported as media objects. Okay, so now we have our PDF in here, so it will appear under customer service. However, there's a problem with that. If we just go and preview that now to see what it looks like, yes, I have my object in here, it knows it's a PDF, but if I click on that to display it, what happens in this case is it is kind of displayed, but it only takes up half the screen. You can see that via the scroll bar here, and if I scroll down a bit you can see that it basically cuts off halfway. I've got no idea why, but it doesn't look good. This is also done inconsistently. This is how it appears in this client that I'm using at the moment. I've used a different client work area and it just does not display this file at all. You're left with a blank sheet here that shows you nothing, not even a button to launch it, which is even worse. Either way, whether it's a blank screen or you get half the screen here, I don't like it, so that's what we're going to fix in this tutorial. So what we need to do is have a container object that we can then put this PDF inside in, and the great thing to use for this is a book page. So I'm going to insert a new book page. I'm going to give it exactly the same name, sales order process. I'm not going to bother changing anything else. I could set a template up for what I'm going to show you next if you wanted to, but it's not really necessary. Click OK. That's created the book page for me and it's stored it right there. And now that is going to throw me into the editor, but before I do that I'm going to come back to the work area because this PDF will only ever be displayed within this book page. So what I'm going to do is just drag it onto the book page and then it appears as underneath this. There's a good reason for doing that, because if we now go back into this, this is a book page that I'm going to get my object displayed on. Now, I don't want anything else on there like headers or whatever, so I can just use the standard style, which will give me a blank page. Now what I want to do is I want to basically insert my media object into this. So to do that I have to insert a book page object called a media object, which is handy. So I'm going to go into the media object menu and select HTML document. Don't worry that we're inserting a PDF and not an HTML document. The key thing here is the iframe. That's the thing that's going to let it display nicely. So I'm going to insert that, and I want to make that full screen size so that nothing's cut off anywhere. So I make that the full size of the screen. That's why I don't care what else is on the page, because the only thing that's going to display is this iframe. The key property here is source. This is where I'll select the file that I want to be displayed in this book page. So I click Edit Link and make sure that I've got current objects selected over on the left hand side. And the reason for this, and the reason why we put our PDF underneath our book page, is that once you select current object, it shows you only the objects that are underneath this, and that there is only one, so it's very easy to find. So I'm going to select that, and then we're done. That's all we need to do here. So I'm going to close out this book page, save it. Now, one last thing that I need to do before all of this is done. If I display this at the moment as it is, it will display the book page, and it will also display this PDF underneath it, indented a bit, because that object is still displayed. So what I want to do is I want to hide the PDF. So I'll just come down to the hide property, select that. It now goes grayed out, so we know it's not going to appear in the outline. So now if I go to my customer service group and go back to preview library from selected group, what we'll see now is we have our book page listed in here. There's nothing underneath it, but when I select it, I now get my PDF document displayed full screen over on the side here, and it's got the board around it, so I know that I'm not missing anything. Okay, the downside to this is that it will always use the book page icon for this. Personally, I don't really care too much about that. As long as you educate your users that that means it's anything but a simulation, they should understand that. If you really wanted to change that, you could basically set up a custom property that has a subtype of book page and has its own icon for that. But that's a much more complicated topic and one we're not going to cover now. But for now, this is working exactly as we wanted. Apart from I'd probably want to put the process document ahead of everything else. But apart from that, we're all good. Okay, hope you found that useful. If you've got any other issues, or you found an easier way of doing this, just drop a comment to this video below. Thanks for watching.